Rotary just joined.
Hi. It's being
Brent Miller. This Brent Miller. I don't know.
scared. Why are you very scared? Oh, whom I got a call from the other day. She just left me a voicemail saying, "Hey, I'm about to take some money out of my account." I was like, "Well, that's why it's your account. You don't have to tell me." I did not. She just said, "Call me back if you want to," but I just wanted to let you know. Sorry. She's funny. Yes, you did. Yeah. Oh, I didn't know we had a hot mic. Here we go. All right. Do whatever. All right, here we go. Good afternoon and welcome to this July 23rd, 2021 meeting of the Rotary Club of Brentwood. And you're experiencing deja vu. Good afternoon and welcome to this July 23rd, 2020. Wow, you guys are hard. Okay. I am not your club president. Yeah, you got that part. That's good. That's good. I am, however, temporarily coming out of retirement to be like a bad taco that you just keep experiencing over and over again. Betsy is out this week. I think she is still knee deep in grandma duties or knee deep in grandchild duties. Likely a little bit of both. So Steve Hammers has our invocation this morning, and Charles Grumman will lead us in the pledge and four-way test. Steve, take it away.
Let's pray. Most gracious Heavenly Father, we just thank you for all you've done for us. We thank you for the beautiful weather. We thank you for the freedom that we have to worship you, freedom of capitalism, Rotary, and we ask that you guide us, protect us, just help us to treat others as we would want to be treated. Be with all those who are away from their families, those who are traveling, those who are ill. Be with Robert Fiddler as he goes through his illness. And just thank you for the food that you provide for us. In Jesus' name, amen.
And now please join me for the pledge and four-way test. We pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I don't know the preamble to this part, so I'm just going to start. Join me. Four-way test of the things we can't see and do. There you go. First, second, spare to all concerned. Third, and fourth,
We do indeed certainly hope so. You may be seated. And now, because apparently the entire executive committee of our club is AWOL, Sherry Goss will be filling in and introducing our guests and visiting Rotarians. And I'm just going to keep talking till you stop. Sherry.
Donna told me what to do. She said, if you have a guest, please raise your hand and I will come to you, Brian. Who do you have today?
well, I was going to introduce them during the presentation, but if you'll stand up, this is Chief Brian Collins. He's our fairly new deputy fire chief in Brentwood. When Chief Windrow retired and went to Nolensville,
Chief Collins was a battalion chief at the time. We went through the process and was promoted up and certainly been a great asset to our management team. He's been with the department since '02. He came in with the large group when Station 4 on Sunset Road opened up. And it's been great having him, and he's been definitely a help to me. So Brian Collins, he's a member of the Morning Rotary Club.
Thank you, Brian. Jordan, I think you have a guest.
I do. I have with me Daniel Parks with Caregivers by Whole Care. Fantastic gentleman. Take some time to get to know him. We also have the wonderful opportunity of co-chairing together for the Alzheimer's Tennessee Williamson Walk this upcoming year. So really excited to work with him on that.
Well, I have two guests today. My good friend George Zublek, probably a lot of you guys know him, and he calls himself the chief brandologist. I really love this term. He's doing promotions by George. Probably all know him. Then I have another good friend here, Jordan Swantalk. And he has, I think, one of the coolest jobs, and I'm going to give him a new title. He's the dronologist. He flies drones. I really love that job. So, and he takes commercial buildings. Really happy these guys are here today with us. Thank you.
Steve.
Hey, oh, it's right behind me. So my guest today is Manny Smith. Manny is a Rotarian. He's the president of the president-elect of the Nashville Sunset Club. And so just good to have Manny.
To be here.
Doing cool. Everyone's.
Thank you.
And now filling in for our regular Happy Books person, it's going to be me. So who's happy today? Awesome. Okay.
I told you I am happy. I have two good friends here. Thank you.
Yeah, that's good. Who else is happy? Oh, Sherry's happy. Sherry's always happy. Sherry's happy that her team gets to beat Oklahoma and Texas a little more often. They're not.
They will come to the SEC. Oh, and then there's Auburn. Okay, so try to follow this. I'll make it short and sweet. 7 years ago today, I had family members that literally fell from the sky. My brother was piloting a 6-seater plane and coming over Alabama. They had a faulty engine and crashed. Before the plane blew up, they all escaped. Lots of injuries, but they're all alive. And so now my nephew that was in the plane is having a little baby in October. His sister is having a baby 2 days ago, had a baby 2 days ago, and my other nephew had a baby in January. So I'm very blessed.
Clearly not.
I kept mentioning last week, one of his friends went into the doctor for a routine visit. That actually happened to me in November. I went in for a routine visit. A week later, I was the first patient at St. Thomas to have double bypass with COVID. I finished cardiac rehab on a Wednesday. Thursday, I go in and have a replacement knee replaced. And then that following Monday, I started PT. But I'm behind, all that's behind me now, and I'm sure glad to be back. And thanks for all the calls and cards I got from you guys. I really very much appreciate it. Thanks.
And on the plus side, you have destroyed that deductible. Who else? Here we go.
I'm happy for my son, Jeff, who's my middle-aged son. Him and 3 of his fraternity brothers are on a flight to Bozeman, Montana, to fish 3 days, the Yellowstone, the Madison, and Spring Creek. Oh, what a deal.
I saw some others, but I now lost it. Sir. Chieftain Brian Goss. Bringing back the term chieftain.
I'm just thankful I'm speaking today and Jeff Hughes isn't here.
I have a feeling that may come up again at some point later.
Hey, everyone. I just want to give you an update on the inclusive playgrounds. We've had some exciting things happening. This truly is a praise, and I can tell you all now. We've had our first naming rights. Brandy White is named. It is the Miles for Miles Foundation, and they've given us $350,000. So now we need a second person to name Crockett Park, and let's just keep our fingers crossed. We've got some big asks out. If you know of anybody, I thank Devin over here. That's who led us to the Miles family or to the Peck family. So it's great. And Tuesday night, the city is holding an information session at Granny White to show equipment, all that kind of stuff. So since the Rotary is so involved with this project, if y'all could possibly want to attend for it's only an hour, 6 o'clock, that'd be great. So thanks so much.
Very good. So one major donor down, one to go. Anybody have 350,000? Alan Treadway, you ready to step up and? Oh, hey, Alan, how are you? Who else is happy? Oh, I heard Michael Heineman's name mentioned in the $350,000 round. All right, that's it for Happy Bucks. We're missing a treasurer. All right. Let's see, what next? We have some announcements, some very important announcements. Leading off our announcement team, Mr. Larry Kane.
On now, good. Golf update. Won't bore you, I promise. I told Michael I'd take 5 minutes. So we're 66 days out from our golf tournament, and we are doing okay. You ready? Okay. So this is, once again, for those of you who have not bothered to go look, this is our golf website, and it is really good. It's really active. We've probably had 60 sponsors sign up through the website, so it is used and they do like it and it is easy to use. So if you get stuck out there talking to somebody about where to go to find out something about the golf tournament, you're kind of mumbling around, give them our website, www.brentwoodrotarygolf.com. Can't be any easier. And you've got that on everything you've got. It's got that address on there. So don't be afraid to use it. It's a very attractive website. It's got pictures from last year. It's got information about registration, the event day. You can read all the stuff it has. It's a really well done website. So use that asset. Here is our list of sponsors. It's very small and I apologize. We've got a lot of sponsors, but the biggest thing is you can see that sold is by about all of our sponsors, except for our premium hole sponsor at $750 and our hole sponsors at $350. We can take, we've sold 3 premium hole sponsors. We've got 13, so we can sell 10 more of those. We can sell unlimited number of hole sponsors. So that's where our emphasis needs to be. And that's where our weakness is right now. You can see we've had great success with our other big sponsors, and that's wonderful. That's what's making us have the success we've had so far. So here are some key numbers as of today. Got 66 days. So what happens in 60? Why is that important? 60 days out is when all the little stuff starts happening. Susie will start putting together her volunteer team. Our volunteer team this year has got to be bigger than it was last year because we have more contests on the golf course. We'll start arranging our food. We'll start working on our signage. There's a lot of signage at our golf course. So all that starts 60 days out. That's why the information that we get now is critical, because if it gets during that 60 days, the closer we get to the tournament, the harder it is to get that all put together. So the 66 days is important. We got a lot to do. 2019, we sold 122 hole sponsors. Outstanding. And I looked at that when we did that and I said, there is no way, I can't believe we did. Next year is going to be unbelievable. We did 122. And then COVID came and we did 106, which was still, I thought, unbelievable. Over 100 hole sponsors in a COVID year, that was phenomenal. Not quite the 122, but certainly well done for what we did last year. And we had a lot of bigger sponsors. So what are we today? We've sold 34 hole sponsors. 34, 106, 122, 34. We got 66 days left. We got plenty of time to sell more hole sponsors. And I know we're going to, but I just want to make you see the numbers for the last 3 years of what we did. There are, and I've said this about every time I spoke, there are 83 hole sponsors outstanding from last year that we have not turned in yet. 83 hole sponsors that were in our tournament last year that we don't have yet this year. And I'm not going to ask for a show of hands or be a jerk, but there's 18 people sitting in this room today who have hose sponsors they've not called. I've got the list. I know who calls and who doesn't. And we've got 18 folks in here that amounts to a little over $9,000 in hose sponsors just in this room right here between the 51 of you guys. So we've got, Dick Bauer said, don't make eye contact. So if our emphasis is anywhere for the next few days, and as we get into this 60-day, it's right there. The people we got last year. Obviously, I'd love for you to go out and get all kind of new sponsorships. We're all about new sponsorship, right? You are, I am. We're all about selling new sponsorship. So that's what we need to. We need these 83 that we had last year for sure. So what do we need to make our goal this year? We need $39,050. I look back last year at about this same time, and we were pretty close to that. We're not too far off from where we were last year. So if we get the whole sponsors from last year, if we get some new whole sponsors in, if we get the other members who are not here today to get theirs called, we can make our goal. And that's what we want to do. We've got to support BRCCF. Here are, surprisingly, banks in Williamson County that are not sponsors of our golf tournament. As I know, well, you're not a bank. You wouldn't let me use their logo. Oh, Charles. Anyway, we've got banks up here that are not sponsors, and you probably bank. Some of y'all probably bank with one of these banks. That could. Hey, I went to the internet. And that's what it gave me. The internet's true, isn't it? Anyway, there's plenty of banks up there, SunTrust, that are still around, Bank of America, that are still at Bancorp South, that are still around, that somebody, you know somebody at that bank. I guarantee you all do. If you're active in the community, you know somebody at that bank. PNC Bank is a new member of our club, and he's working on that one, so that should come through. Franklin Synergy we had last year, and somebody here in this room has got that one. And then Ally Bank is one Curry Andrews got last year. We'll probably get that one back. But just take a quick look at that list, and if you know anybody in those banks, make a contact there and get a sponsorship. I just threw that out there. We've got 12 banks already. But don't forget, we've got a 100-day contest going on. If you didn't read it when I sent it to you, every member that brings in 2 new sponsorships between now and the tournament, $300 Visa gift card. Every member that brings in $1,500 or more is a $500 Visa gift card. New sponsorships. Going to put them in a hat and draw them. So far, we have one contestant, and that's Mr. Hall. Keeley Hall has our only new sponsorship since we started this contest 2 weeks ago.
When does that contest period end?
Tournament day, September 27th. There you go. Thanks to Jennifer Shepard for putting that together for me. That's true. Tell me why we really need this. 100% of the funds go to BRCCF. We've done $239,000 over the first 4 years, and the net raise has increased, and we hope it's going to be even better this year. So that's the end. There's the golf website. Don't forget you have that. 66 days. All I ask is you please call your sponsors from last year and get those sponsorships in. Sherry Cross bought in 3 this week of hers, so she did great. If everybody did that, we'd be wonderful. So thank you very much. It's going to be a successful tournament. I just need your help. Thank you.
Thank you, Larry. We also have an announcement that has come in from the Jackson Old Hickory Rotary Club. Shirley Jones, member of that club and longtime active member in District 6760, passed away. Sherry was affectionately known to many as Mama Rotary, and was a strong supporter of Rotary Foundation and polio eradication, and has asked that in lieu of flowers, donations be made in Shirley's name to the fight to eradicate polio worldwide. Also of note, World Polio Day is October 24th. So if you do have a donation that you would like to make in Shirley's name or anyone else's, make every effort to make those donations effective before October 24th. That would be awesome. Dick Bowers has our next announcement.
So very quickly, Tom Carr, come on up here. Surprise, Tommy. So contrary to popular opinion, you people in this room are not members of Rotary International. You are members of the Brentwood Rotary Club, and the Brentwood Rotary Club is a member of Rotary International. So clubs are joined into something called a district, and our district is 6760, and it goes from basically Nashville to the Mississippi. And there's a district governor every year, a new person. This district has a Rotary grad school, which is basically set up to try to train leaders for service at the district level and beyond. And Tommy Carr spent the last 8 months going to this grad school, so he is steeped in Rotary knowledge, and I'd like to congratulate him and give him his little poster, and he's got a pin already that Steve gave him, right? So normally we have at the grad school a big celebration at the end of the year. COVID, we didn't have it, so this is all you got, Tom. Thank you. Thank you.
So Tom, up until today, how many people have called you Tommy and lived to tell the story? All right. As many of you now know, this year's far better club president than her predecessor has instituted a weekly Rotary Minute that you could perhaps even call trivia. So now, because she has asked me to, it's all Betsy's fault. We get to play trivia. What was the first Rotary Club community project? Not Brentwood Rotary Club, Rotary International. What was the first Rotary Club community project? A comfort station in downtown Chicago. Do you know why that was instituted? Because public restrooms were typically found only in saloons at the time, and unaccompanied women were not permitted to enter saloons. It was not a pretty time. Speaking of not fair times, what do the following names have in common? Men with Friends, the Blue Boys, the Conspirators, the Round Table. What do those four names all share in common? At the third meeting of the group in Chicago that would become Rotary, each one of these names was considered as the name for the new club. How grateful we are to now be members of Rotary and not the Blue Boys. Or Men with Friends, for that matter. How thankful we are not referred to as Men with Friends. Woo! What is the greatest distance from Chicago, where Rotary was originally founded, that a Rotary pin has ever been displayed? The greatest distance from Chicago that a Rotary pin has ever been displayed. We will take a general reference to this place, not an actual measurement. South Pole is an excellent guess. One would think that would be pretty darn close to correct. Who else has a guess? The moon. Astronaut Buzz Aldrin, an honorary Rotarian of the Rotary Club of Spring Lake, Brielle, New Jersey, where his father was a member, planted a 4-way test pin on the moon when he landed Apollo 11. That's kind of cool. Much cooler than Men with Friends. All right. One final question as we turn slightly pivoting from Rotary to today's speaker. What year was the first City of Brentwood fire station established? What year was the first City of Brentwood fire station established? Members of this table cannot answer. I'm hearing lots of 68, 69. 73, you're getting warmer. 80 is getting warmer. 84 is getting warmer. You're getting slowly warmer. You're like the frog in the boiling water. 87 is a little tiny overshoot. 86. Wow, that was amazing. Good job. You just came up with that off the top of your head. 1986. I'm getting a message from the judges right now. They would have also accepted as an answer to the question, when was the first city of Brentwood fire station established? Right. Okay. Yeah, I'll tell them. Immediately after Sid Smith discovered fire. Mr. Tom, Mr. Tommy, whoever you want to be referred to right now. You're all welcome. You're all welcome. 19, I mean, I would. 1960 or 1986, not 68, that would have been bad. 1986, also, incidentally, the year that one Chief Brian Goss was a junior pre-med major at Spring Arbor University. Spring Arbor University, that world famous powerhouse of athletics. Most famous alumnus here in this room with you today, Chief Brian Goss. He is a 38-year fire service veteran, ladies and gentlemen, having joined the profession in Bangor, Michigan as a paid on-call firefighter in 1983, prior to his infamous junior year at Spring Arbor. In 1988, he began a 20-year career with the Grand Rapids Fire Department, where he subsequently moved through the ranks of lieutenant captain, battalion chief, or also chieftain, before leaving in 2008 to accept the position of assistant fire chief of the Brentwood Fire and Rescue Department. He was then promoted to fire chief on July 1st, 2011. Chief Goss holds a bachelor's degree from Spring Arbor University, or the Spring Arbor University, and is a graduate of the University of North Carolina's Fire and Rescue Management Institute, as well as the University of Tennessee's Public Administrator Program. He earned his Chief Fire Officer designation from the Center for Public Safety Excellence's Commission on Professional Credentialing. That's a really long business card. In 2010, and has contributed content to numerous trade journals, books, and other fire service publications. And he has offended Sid Smith far fewer times than I have. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Chief Brian Goss.
Never thought I'd miss Jeff. Well, thanks for this opportunity. It's been a couple of years since we've been here, and some things we're going to talk about that are more concrete today were kind of conceptualized back then. So we will give you a little bit more information on that and offer my deputy chief to chime in whenever. A lot of the progress that we've made is due to his efforts even prior to being promoted to deputy as a battalion chief. As you know, we were one of only 7 internationally accredited fire departments in the state of Tennessee. And Chief Collins is our assistant or co-accreditation manager. He's our data guy and has done a tremendous job and was key in us achieving that accreditation. So our challenge ongoing is to maintain and improve our performance in light of increasing service level demands. And there's not an agency in the country that's not dealing with that. 86, when our first municipal fire station was built. We've been around since the 60s, but it was some of you may remember, it was a subscription fire service back then. You had to pay for fire protection. And then it was privately owned corporation. And then in 86, we transitioned to a municipal agency. Population was about 15,000 that year. And we ran 638 calls that year. And as you can see through the years, as the population and our call volume has increased, we are pushing probably 4,000 calls, I imagine this year, pretty close. Our incidents, the number of alarms is increasing at about 3 times the rate of our population. And that's because we're in the people business. And when you have I-65 running through here, you have 30 or 40,000 people coming into Brentwood on a daily basis. That's just the way it is. So we are constantly trying to improve service and trying to maintain service while approaching it in a very conservative staffing methodology. And we'll illustrate that in a minute here. Among Tennessee's 22 cities with a population of 30,000 or more, we are the 15th largest city in the state by population, 8th largest by land mass, hard to believe, 22nd out of 22 in population density, and that's due to a great extent on our 1 home per acre building ordinance. We are second in the area of square miles covered by each fire station. So we're about 42 square miles. We currently have 4 fire stations, so we're about 10.5 square miles per station average, which puts us at the second largest land mass in the state among these agencies of the 30,000 or more population. Number 1 is Nashville, believe it or not. With the number of stations they have, they still cover more than 10 square miles per station. We're 18th out of 22 in overall staffing and 7th in number of incidents per firefighter, which is kind of what we look at from a budgetary perspective. ISO, I don't know who's familiar with ISO and certain services organizations. They're the ones that evaluate your communities, and they give you a number of 1 through 10, 1 being absolute optimum, 10 being hardly any fire protection at all. My goal when I came here, we were a 4 out of 10 when I came here. My goal was to get us to a 3, and we've actually made it to a 2. So we have the second highest rating. We're one of about 3.5% of all fire departments in the nation to have a 2 or better. Franklin is a class 1 department. And when we look at what we would need to do in Brentwood to achieve class 1, we would need 8 fire stations, which is twice the number we have right now, and 11 first due engine companies. And we're getting ready to put our 5th in. So there comes a point when cost benefit analysis has to take place and you're satisfied with a 2, because it would take many, many, many more millions to achieve a class 1 than the residents in the community would ever save by getting there. So when we're looking at how to provide better service and to improve service, we looked at 3 of the most ideal means. One is to establish automatic aid agreements. And the way automatic aid agreements work is you have areas and surrounding departments that have facilities and equipment just like you do. So when we get dispatched to a structure fire on the south end of town, we automatically dispatch Franklin at the same time. We don't have to request them. We don't have to ask for them. If it's within a certain district or certain area, they automatically get dispatched the same time we do, as if they were part of our fire department. Same thing with us in Franklin. And in fact, I've got a draft agreement on our desk right now. Hopefully we'll go before the commission in August to do the same with Nolansville. That chief was kind of eager to get our help over there. So that's great because it provides us additional staffing. It provides us additional equipment at no additional cost. It literally costs us nothing because we're going to call for them anyway, but we get that on first alarm. The second way is adding a 5th fire station in the southeast quadrant of the city. And I talked about this again conceptually last time I was here. That helps relieve the current anticipated workload on our firefighters. Keep in mind, we do a lot more than fires. In fact, anybody have any guess what percentage of our annual call volume are actual fires? 2%. So I know the CFAers have probably got close. 3%. 3% of our total calls are fires. So we are an all hazards response organization. So we respond to everything and anything you can imagine. I guarantee you several things you can't imagine. So that increases our workload. We also service almost 3,000 fire hydrants annually and inspect buildings. We have every one of our company officers is a certified inspector, so we can send our engine companies out and do a formal building inspection, which is rare and unique for Brentwood. So just the additional staffing that comes with the 5th fire station will help distribute that workload a lot more. And then I would love to relocate Station 3. Those of you know where Station 3 is, it's down in off General George Patton in Cool Springs. It's butted right up against Franklin. In fact, when our guys come to work, they park in a parking lot that's in Franklin. So if one of their cars catch on fire where they're at work, I got to call Franklin Fire Department to come put it out. It's not ideal. It was a political decision to put it down there originally, and because of lack of connectivity and lack of arterial streets, they have a very small district, and we'll take a look at that in a moment here. So when we're looking at how to improve service and where to place these additional resources, there's 2 things we consider. One is distribution and one is concentration. And distribution is basically physical location of your fire stations and resources. When you look at concentration, it's a little more complex, and they look at how long it takes to pull those resources from those individual places to form what we call an ERF, or effective response force. You have to have so many people for a vehicle extrication. You have to have so many people for a structure fire. You have to have so many people for a hazardous materials incident. So concentration is how long it takes to assemble all of those resources to address and attack the task at hand. So that's what we looked at when we started looking at, do we need another station? How do we enhance services? Can we do it through additional automatic aid agreements? Our benchmark total response time is 6 minutes and 30 seconds, 90% of the time. We don't measure averages anymore because average is kind of like a failing grade to us. So we look at what we're doing 90% of the time. So we want to have the first unit on scene within 6.5 minutes of that 911 call. That kind of breaks it down there at alarm handling time. Turnout time is the time it takes our guys to get on the truck and out the door from the time that the alarm hits. Try to do that in 60 seconds if they're not dressing down, like for a medical call or something like that. If they have to put turnout gear on and prepare for a structure fire, they get an additional 20 seconds for that. And then we try to maintain a 4-minute travel time to the best of our ability. Now, the only time we really can control in the fire service is this turnout time. The faster we get to the engine and out the door, the shorter that time span and that total response time is. We don't want them to drive any faster than they're already driving. We don't want them running red lights and stop signs. They proceed through those intersections, but they know to stop first. And alarm handling time, how long it takes a dispatcher to get the information and send out that call. And those aren't things that we really have a lot of control over. So we really push our people to get those turnout times down. The turnout time, or the total response time in the proposed 5th district, which we'll look at right now, is 12 minutes and 28 seconds. So you can see in that area of the city, we identified the fact that we were almost double what our ideal response time is for those emergencies. So why does it matter that we get there fast? The fire growth curve, if you look at NFPA, National Fire Protection Association, their data tells us that when a fire starts, it doubles in size every 30 seconds. So for every, 1 minute, 2 minutes, it's double the size, 3 minutes, and that goes progressively like that. If anybody has ever seen the fire sprinkler demonstration or a public safety day, you've seen how fast it actually goes. It's scary fast. So we need to get water on that fire. We need to get people on the scene. We need to get those resources deployed and in service as quickly as we can. Sudden cardiac arrest survivability. I'm proud to say that Brentwood has a much higher survival rate than the national average for cardiac arrest. And I give credit to 3 things. We have a very educated citizenry. We have folks that take classes. They know how to do bystander CPR. And in many, many cases where we have survivors, it is due to bystander CPR. The second leg of that stool is early defibrillation. We have a lot of defibrillators around the city. There's some in this building. And certainly early defibrillation is important. And then the training and skill set of our paramedics. We run ALS engine companies in Brentwood. Every engine company on a daily basis has a paramedic on board. So we're doing things with our engine on scene that 20 years ago you would have to be in an emergency room for. We can intubate, we can start IVs, we can deliver cardiac meds. Chief Collins is one of our skilled paramedics. So that's the reason for that. And if you look at our survival rate since 2012, now these numbers might be a little, I haven't entered in COVID year numbers yet, but we responded to over 70 cardiac arrest calls and documented 19 saves. In a world where a 10% save rate is average, you can see we're way higher than that, almost 3 times above the national average. 17 of those 19 saves were within 2 miles of a fire station. So that tells you again the importance of early arrival. And the remaining were within 2.5 miles. So when you figure if each fire station covers 10 square miles, you can see how station location weighs into that. Average distance of a survivor from a fire station was 1.4 miles. So these are the things that we look at when we're considering where we need to go. So where do we need a fire station? When we were looking at that, we started looking at the city and say, where do we have the greatest propensity for growth? And these red areas on this map show basically those areas that are subject to change as agricultural land is sold off to developers, and you all know how that goes. We see it happening around here every day. Obviously, the southeast quadrant is the most dense area where we can see a turnover from agriculture into housing in the future. That doesn't take into account the gray area, which is our urban growth boundary. And we're already starting to push into that urban growth boundary as we annex property. We've annexed, I think, 3 in the last 2 or 3 months, anywhere from 20 to 120 home sites. So that's the area that we identified where we needed additional resources. If you look at this map, this is a district map. It shows the various colors represent the various engine company response districts. So Maryland Farms at City Hall, engine 51, green area, engine 52 on Wilson Pike near the recycle center of the city. This is kind of their area. Engine 54 on Sunset Road, and then engine 3 in on General George Patton in Cool Springs. And you can see engine 3 is a smaller district, again, because of lack of connectivity. Really, we only use these districts now for planning purposes. A couple of years ago, we incorporated new technology into our CAD system, which is called closest unit dispatch. So before, regardless of where this engine was, if they got a call anywhere in this blue area, it would automatically dispatch them because they were assigned to that district. Now, what the CAD system does, the computer-aided dispatch system, is it reaches out, reads the GPS location of every engine that we have, and it will send the closest one. So say if engine 52 was on their way back from grocery shopping in Cool Springs, they may be in this area here, they get a call here, it would automatically grab them and bring them in. So that alone has reduced our response times dramatically. We used to have officers that would listen to the radio, and if they knew the address and said, yeah, we're closer, they would jump that call, but now it's all automated. So what District 5 would look at, like if we overlaid it, would be this dark red or pink area here, where it's taking the lower section of 52's district and the lower section of 54's district in addition to that urban growth boundary. Again, this is for planning purposes because it will still grab the nearest engine company. So how did we determine we would need that? This is drive time modeling that we do. Chief Collins had a big hand in doing this. And if you look at these areas, we don't like yellow and red. We like green. Green tells us we're meeting our response time goals in those areas. And the further you get into the southeast down in here in some of these subdivisions, which coincidentally a couple of our city commissioners lived there, which didn't hurt. We were well beyond, again, that 12-minute response time range. So we started looking for property within this corridor right here, the split log Ragsdale corridor, to get property. Now, we were limited because the city was not willing to condemn property. They weren't willing to obtain it through eminent domain or anything like that. So we had to find a willing seller. We originally had property donated by the developer in the Tuscany subdivision. Was not ideal. In fact, it was in a giant hole and it would have required several hundred truckloads of dirt to fill. And ultimately, neighbors had some concerns, relevant concerns. So we ended up abandoning that idea. And fortunately, the homeowner right across the street in this area knew that we were looking. He was getting ready to sell. So we were able to find a willing seller for about a 3-acre parcel of property there. And I'll go into more detail on that. But when we put that fire station there and we remodel this, you see how that map changes when we do our drive time analysis, where we were all in the red and yellow down here. We immediately turned that area green and beyond the city limits, even into our urban growth boundary. So that's going to make a significant difference in, again, survival rates and hopefully keeping the small fires small and keeping them from getting out of hand before we get there. This is an overview of the property location. See, on Ragsdale, our ideal area was in here because, again, the city limits are just beyond the picture here. So we're kind of pushing the city limits, but with our urban growth boundary, we think in a few years we'll be in exactly the right location. But it through modeling has made the difference that we would hope it would make. So one thing that we wanted to do, and we assured the city commission that we would do, is make it fit into the neighborhood. You know, we went through an era in the 60s, 70s, and 80s where these big, flat, gray, stark, commercial-looking buildings were what the fire stations were. Now we're going back to the Norman Rockwell days of the neighborhood fire station that's welcoming and inviting to the public, and that fits into the community rather than something that's just stark and commercial looking. So we went around. I snapped probably 40 pictures of various houses through Sonoma and Tuscany and the surrounding area, and said, we need to do something that fits in with this. We want to be part of the community. We want this to be a community asset, not just a city building that stands out. So this is the concept the architects have come up with. We're moving along quickly in the design process. This is from looking from split log, kind of looking up the driveway to what it will look like. It's going to be a 2-story station. We were limited by the size of the site. We had to keep the building envelope relatively small because the site falls dramatically toward the backside. Something a little unique about the design that we requested. This is going back to, again, tradition. This tower here is a throwback to when we carried cotton jacketed hose on the fire trucks. And if you loaded them wet, left them on there, they would mold. So when they got back from the fire, they would come back, they would unload all the wet hose and they would hang it in these hose drying towers and load dry hose onto the apparatus, and then they would rotate it as they had fires. So this is going to be kind of a neat feature our architects came up with. This is a glassed in archway. It's going to be backlit and it's actually going to have hose hanging in it, which is pretty cool. The red bifold doors, again, a throwback. Bifold doors were popular in the horse and steamer days. And what we're finding now, after going through all sorts of iterations of overhead doors, is they're practical. Once again, average overhead door opens in 20 seconds. These open in 7 seconds. If they're split down the middle and each half literally folds. Right now, if we lose power, these doors are so heavy, we can't lift them to get the fire apparatus out. These, you hit a button and you can just push them right open. So there's a lot of advantages to them. And knock on wood, I don't think anybody's ever driven through a partially open bifold door. There's 7 seconds, guys. Come on. You can wait 7. We've got red lights on the inside of our station that come on that indicate the door is not all the way open. Still, once a year, somebody drives through an overhead door. A lot of you know the fire trucks with slab doors. They have the big flat doors on the side and they open like this. We were leaving them open and taking those out. So now we've got roll up doors, so we can't do that. I just want to quit driving through doors. That's my goal. So this will help. Plus it gives a neat traditional appearance to the building. This is the kind of the back side of the building. You can see the engine will come in, drive around here, and then drive in these back doors here. This is our weight and workout room area with commercial French doors, so they can come out and work out on the patio. And this is then the kitchen and living area with a patio area out here. And again, this is the back side of the building. We went through several exercises to try to reduce costs. I don't know if any of you noticed, but construction prices are kind of up right now. And Jeff Hughes didn't leave me a lot of money left over when he got, his $12 million police station just broke 31. So we had to make do. So we eliminated the bifold doors from the rear. We eliminated the stonework from the back. We tried to make it as presentable as possible while instituting cost saving measures. And I'll be honest with you, when we sat down with our architects a year ago, the cost of this was estimated about 4.7 million, and it just came in at 6.4. So that tells you what has happened. He said when he put out, and I know certainly Michael Heinman, a lot of you know this, they said when they put out to subs for bids in the signature line of their emails, it usually comes back, bids good for 90 days, bids good for 120 days. They said they're coming back in now, bids good for 24 hours. That's how crazy the market is right now. So we're looking forward to getting there and breaking ground as quickly as we can. We are performing thermal demolition, which is a way of saying we're burning the house down. That's currently exists on the site. And we're doing that at the end of August. And then we'll have a formal groundbreaking scheduled for September 10th, just shy of the 20th anniversary of September 11th, 2001. There's kind of an overview of the structure. Lots of trees, lots of screening. These are all residential area around. We want to be sensitive to that. We are going to have, there's the walking path and the biking path. We're going to have a lobby area that's open with water fill station, drinking fountain, public restrooms, facilities, things like that that really don't exist on that side of the city today. I know you can't see hardly any of this from where you're sitting, but this is kind of an overview. This is the first floor plan. We're designing this so the first floor is business and the second floor is living space, because we're going to be there. Our guys live there 48 hours at a time. We work 48, 96 shifts. So here's the bay. a little training room area, locker room, gear room, that's right, turnout gear room, offices back in here, and then the workout, the weight room. If you look at the second level, individual bunk rooms, which are now the Norman firehouses, where we don't all sleep in open areas anymore now that we are integrated, men and women. So we try to make that as accommodating as possible. And then down here, you have your kitchen, dining room, and patio area. Oh, I guess I'm done. But I had one more in there. So Chief Collins, what we did, I mean, we've been looking at this concept for a 5th fire station. I first pitched it to the city manager in 2015. So it's been a long time coming. And we put together an internal committee of our folks because I don't live here. Chief Collins isn't going to live here. We needed to know what was important to them. One of the things, it's funny what is important to people. One of the things we looked at was OSHA does not like fire poles. People get tired in the night and fall through holes in the floor, and that has actually happened. There's an incident in Seattle. The guy thought he was going to the bathroom, opened the wrong door, and fell through the pole hole. So permanently disabled. So OSHA does not like poles. So a lot of fire stations, believe it or not, are putting in corkscrew slides now. So you basically jump down the slide, and Murfreesboro just put in a couple of these. Coolest thing ever. So you talk to my guys, no, they wanted a fire pole. They love tradition. So it's got a fire pole. So it'll be only the 2nd station in the city that has a fire pole. But again, with the limitations provided by the site also provided us some opportunities. So we're very excited to get this done. Looking at a 1-year build time from this September. We just put in an order for 2 new fire trucks, one of them to replace a fire truck that we have at Station 1 in Maryland Farms. That's going on 12 years old, and one for this station. And we're looking at about a 1-year build time on those. So hopefully the station and the truck to go in the station will all come together at about the same time. But that's kind of the update I have today. I'd be glad to answer any questions that you have. We're kind of doing it in phases. We hired 3 last year. We're hiring 3. We hired 3 in July. In fact, they just started this week. We have 3 more coming in January, and ideally next year, 3 more, because there's going to be 3 on each shift station here. So that's 9. If we can get 12 to equip or to staff this station, that allows for sick leaves, vacations, and those kind of things. So we're incrementally bringing them in now.
Brian, 2 days ago, there was a segment on TV of the challenges with electric vehicle fires with these powerful batteries, these things blowing up. What are you all doing to anticipate that?
We actually have trained with Tesla. We bring them in, started with Leaf way back when they come in. In fact, I think it was at the Mart. I think it was here that we did that, where they have an entire training program through the auto manufacturer that come in and walk us through that. Then they bring several different models here. We go out, they show us where the disconnects are. It's just, technology is evolving so fast. You just try to keep up as much as you can to avoid killing people. I mean, back in the day, it was airbags. And if you didn't cut a car in the right place, as soon as your cutters went through and connected 2 wires, you're deploying airbags while your guys are sitting in there. So it's constant training. Our guys train combined about 30,000 hours a year in Brentwood Fire and Rescue for the various things that we're going to encounter. But it's always going to be that one thing that we haven't imagined would ever happen that we're going to encounter. And then our guys are great problem solvers, and that's the mentality that they have, and they walk through it a step at a time. But we train on the known and prepare for the unknown. It's the best we can do.
So I did not get a real good look at the map. Can you tell me specifically where the new station's going to be?
Split Log and Ragsdale. If you're at the 3-way intersection, you turn on Split Log to go toward Jordan. It's the second property on the right across from Tuscany.
Just to follow on, that's an interesting question. How many car fires of any kind have you had in the last few years? Is that a common thing?
More common than structure fires.
20 or 30 vehicles.
So I'm less concerned about the battery versus the gasoline on a fire as I am in a crash. We're trying to cut a car apart. If you cut the wrong place to get electrocuted because
So on a lot of the Tesla fleets, the electric vehicles, if you look, they'll actually have cut here decals in different areas to say, hey, you gotta take this off, this is where you need to cut this thing.
If you open the hood of a Tesla, you'll see a little red tab with a picture of a fire helmet on it. And that's for us. So we open that hood, we yank that tab, that disconnects the battery.
How
completely.
many of the 20 or 30 were in the last year or so were electric? So that would be 0 electric car fires and 30 internal combustion car fires. Just wanted to make sure.
When is the next Citizens Fire Academy as a graduate?
Citizens Fire Academy is, help me out. On the website under fire prevention. Yeah, we have a lot of fun.
I want to thank Chief Goss and Chief Collins, Chief Goss for the presentation, and they're excellent. Our department is one of the best in the world, if not the best in the world, especially for a city our size. There's a lot of challenges in Brentwood that a lot of people don't think about with our hills, inclement weathers, lots of streams with running waters, lots of challenges sometimes that they face. I do want to set one record straight. I do live in East Brentwood, but I'm served by Safety Center East because I'm only about 3/4 of a mile from it. So, but I was all for Fire Station 5 because my theory of governance is if you don't have safety and security, the rest of it really doesn't matter. Good old Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and these gentlemen do an excellent job of that in all of our force. And I can tell you, as someone who's had to have the fire department respond, our fire department is excellent, and they're true servants. And a lot of people don't know this, but the fire department responds first because they get there quicker than the ambulances can. They turn out a lot faster and they get there quicker. I just know, even from being City Hall, you can see, you know, the fire engine or the ladder truck or whatever gone sometimes 2 to 5 minutes before the ambulance ever leaves the bay. And they are a lot of times are the first medical responders, and they are great. And they're kind too. So I want to thank you, and thank you for the presentation.
Thank you. I'll tell you, none of this would be possible, and I'm not just saying this because you stand here, but we've got tremendous support from our administration. Kirk Bednar is phenomenal. Brentwood is very fortunate, one of the best. And everywhere I go, and I do a lot of fire department evaluations, put on trainings, and every city administrator I run into has nothing but positive things to say about Kirk. And then you go above Kirk to our city commission, and I'm blessed. And I go to meetings all over the state, and I hear people lamenting budgets and leadership, and I just have to sit there in silence because we are uniquely blessed in Brentwood in so many ways, and certainly in this way as well. So thank you, Mayor, and for oh, that's fine. Everybody thinks it's a big deal. I missed a meeting. I got appointed to something. No, what he's referring to is the International Association of Fire Chiefs, which is a worldwide fire chief organization. They select one member from each state to be the state director, and I was fortunate enough to be selected to state director this year. So I'll be representing Tennessee to the International Association of Fire Chiefs. It's a lifetime appointment until you retire, so I guess I'm stuck with it for a few more years. But thank you for that. I appreciate that.
Thank you, Chief Goss. Normally I would have you sign a book, but I forgot to get it out of the closet. So I know where to find you. But thank you for speaking. I learned a lot today. Hey, who learned something today? Yes. I learned, number one, that firefighters don't like the colors red or yellow. Think about that for a minute. That's weird. I also learned that it takes 20 seconds difference between getting out the door regularly clothed and getting out the door when you're prepared for a fire. 20 seconds to put all that stuff on. My teenage daughters take far too long to get ready for school. I also learned that the real reason that that fire station looks like a Brentwood home is so that just in case we end up not needing it, Jared Tanksley can sell it for 35% over asking price. Also, thermal demolition is a really fun term. I'm just going to think about thermal demolition all day long now. We do have a couple of closing, well, we have one closing announcement other than Keely, please never come back to host a meeting again. This week, the chairs that you are sitting in stay right where they are. It's a test. The tables will be folded up and put away in the closet like regular. The chairs should not move. Okay? Yes, it's like Jenga. It's a good thing we have engineers. All right, so any other announcements?
Keely?
Yes.
We have a hard stop at 1:30 today for those that are cleaning up. So if you can at all stay and help for 15 minutes, it will be greatly appreciated.
Please stay and help clean up. Do your good deed for the day. If there is nothing else for the good of Rotary, get out.